Today I'd like to tell you a little about the infrastructure being planned and implemented for the future of autonomous vehicles. The vehicles themselves don't look much different than our modern day cars from the outside, aside from a couple of different sensor packages mounted on the outside on the exterior of the vehicle. Those sensor packages over time will become smaller and smaller. Sooner or later, you won't even notice that they're on the vehicle. They look just like a modern day automobile. Currently, they have windshields, doors, sleek body lines, lights for safety. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration website, there are 6 levels of autonomy. We start off with 0, which is kind of misleading because it's no different than my old 72 Dodge Dart. There's no interaction between the vehicle and its components to naturally drive the vehicle anywhere or operate any of its functions. Levels 1 and 2, you may find some helpful acceleration, some steering being implemented by the car's computer. We'll find that on certain modern cars now that have adaptive cruise control, assisted braking, things like that, lane collision avoidance and things of that nature. So starting with level 3, it becomes a little trickier because you don't need constant attention to the roadway or the vehicle or vehicles around you. You don't have to pay absolute close attention to everything that's done because the car takes care of minor details for you. It will still alert the driver in the case that it instantaneously needs to cede control back over to the driver, but that's a rare case. Level 4, it is completely self-aware at this point. You may travel from point A to point B without noticing anything. You may be behind the wheel reading a book, and the car will let you know when you've reached your destination. In certain cases, on a level 4 autonomous vehicle, which again are rare, if an instant comes up, circumstance, situation that the vehicle needs to pull over and await further instructions, it will do that. It will naturally just pull off of the highway and wait for you to take control back or give it further instructions on how to carry about its route. Level 5, no human necessary. This is completely autonomous. It's the holy grail of autonomous vehicles, and it's what every car manufacturer is striving for now. According to the News4Jax website, there's a vehicle currently carrying COVID-19 test kits from a test lab to a processing center on the Mayo Clinic campus in Jacksonville, Florida. It is completely autonomous. The only time a human being is even in the vehicle, they're merely considered passengers. This level does not expect any kind of human interaction whatsoever. It's completely controlled, self-contained. It may have uplinks to the internet, and of course with 5G coming about, things are going to get a lot interesting. The 2 things holding us back from widespread autonomous vehicles on the highways now are safety and infrastructure. There was recently something that I came across at work as a master mechanic myself. A vehicle had an issue with steering where it would pull the driver completely off the side of the road at random, just jerk the wheel out of his hands. We discovered that he just recently had a aftermarket stereo installed in his car, and it caused interference with his electronic power steering, which affected the vehicle. These are life and death circumstances on even a modern day vehicle. When you get into the hundreds of sensors and computers that are driving vehicles sold today, you're going to have some kind of technology issues, wiring, digital signals being sent all over the car. Now imagine doubling or tripling that because of autonomy. When you add on certain number of circuits and computers and sensors and involve the internet that has to be there for level 5 autonomy, you may find that it's going to be a lot more technically challenging than anything we've ever done. So, as stated in the September 26, 2019 article by John R. Quain in the New York Times, titled, "These high-tech sensors may be the key to autonomous cars," and I quote, "The problem is that the cars can't begin to figure out what's around them, separating toddlers from traffic cones, for example, if they can't see the objects in the first place. In the parlance of autonomous vehicle engineering, perception has to be accurate enough to enable classification," end quote. This means the vehicle has to know exactly every blip that pops up on the radar or any of the other sensors around the car. It has to be able to classify those to be able to avoid them or not pay attention to them. So current sensor packages are commonly made up of radar, LiDAR, high resolution video camera, ultrasonic sensors, and GPS or global positioning systems have to be absolutely critical to these vehicles. They're used in multiple combinations. Radar uses radio waves which can tell distance and speed. They're limited when transferring this information to a perception that the computer can understand. Just as limited as ultrasonic, however, this uses location and speed. LiDAR, light detection and ranging, is not widely known, but it has been used since the 60s. This contains a vast array of lasers that will transmit signals and receive them simultaneously, getting a much better picture of any of the area around the vehicles. So combining LiDAR with a color image from a high resolution camera, the vehicle can now see 360 degrees around it if implemented properly, and know instantaneously if something just happens to pop up, any kind of circumstance around the vehicle or danger. It's far superior to the naked eye because there's no one that can turn around 360 in a car and know everything around it. So it sees the whole field using certain sensor packages, near instantaneous reaction times. No human eye know is instantaneous in the reaction time. Communication to the internet, which basically will provide the driver and actually provide the vehicle with information regarding dangers around it, traffic, any kind of incoming signals from other cars around it. And technology, it can't be easily distracted. It could possibly be hacked. That's a security issue. But you can't distract technology and just snap your finger and expect it to follow you, unless it's programmed that way. The current infrastructure, you have visually defined lanes, traffic lamps, street signs, speed limits. All these things need to be paid attention to, a couple of them simultaneously at certain situations and certain circumstances. Humans just aren't capable of seeing everything around them, just like I mentioned. So with a future infrastructure, with the widespread 5G internet capabilities, GPS will give you location, speed, velocity, and direction, and it can guide a level 5 autonomous vehicle from point A to point B problem-free. Implementation of this new infrastructure with the vehicles, it'll take time, possibly decades. There's no standardization between the different auto manufacturers, so it makes it a little tricky designing an infrastructure based around vehicles that have a multitude of different sensor arrays and different functionality. So, in conclusion, with any large technological undertaking, there will be testing, problems, solutions. The area of autonomous vehicles will be no different. The infrastructure that's needed. It's just not there yet. There's no set plan on exactly how to make the infrastructure work for all the different manufacturers. So it's not gonna be a matter of when the cars are ready for the road, but it's going to be a matter of when the road is ready for the cars. Thank you.
Now, what was I gonna ask? With all the,
No questions.
oh,
Not yet.
okay.
That was like over
Sorry.
10 minutes.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I was like
Seriously?
wondering, like, should I try to tell you? But I didn't want you to be like, huh?